Well, that warms my heart.
So it's only 10 after 11. Our next order of business is the combined applications for a site plan review application 13017 and inclusionary housing application 12-17 for 199 Rantoul Street. Site plan review application 13117, special permit application 16217, and inclusionary housing application 13-17 for 211 Rantoul Street, and a special permit application number 163-17 for 211 Rear Rantoul Street. The applicant is Windover Ford for each of these. And can I have the reading of the public notice? I'm afraid you do.
Three of them to read then. Notice is hereby given that under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 300-98 and 300-102 of the Beverly Zoning Ordinance, the Beverly Planning Board will hold concurrent public hearings on Tuesday, September 15th? What? We fixed that, sorry. Tuesday, September 19th, during a public meeting that begins at 7 p.m. at Beverly City Hall, 191 Cabot Street. I need to find that. Beverly, Mass, relative to site plan review application number 130-17 and inclusionary housing application 12-17 for the construction of a 5-story building containing 28 residential units with retail commercial space on the first floor with parking at grade. The petitioner owner is Windover Ford LLC, care of Alexander and Femino, 1 School Street, Beverly, Mass. The property is located at 199 Rantoul Street in the CC Depot Parking and Height Overlay zoning districts and is shown on Assessor's Map 11, Lot 232. The application and plans are on file at the Beverly Planning Department and available for public review. That's one. Notice is hereby given that under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 300-40D, 5F, 300-40C1J, 300-98, and 300-102 of the Beverly Zoning Ordinance, the Beverly Planning Board will hold concurrent public hearings on Tuesday, September 19, 2017, during a public meeting that begins at 7 p.m. at Beverly City Hall, 191 Cabot Street, Beverly, Mass, relative to special permit applications 162-17 and 163-17, site plan review application 131-17 and inclusionary housing application 13-17 for the construction of a 6-story building containing 100 residential units with retail commercial space, parking and common area on the first floor, deviation from building height over 55 feet, and use of 8,017 square foot area at rear 211 Rantoul Street as parking lot. The petitioner owner is Windover Ford LLC, care of Alexander and Femino, 1 School Street, Beverly, Mass. The property is located at 211 Rantoul Street in the CC Depot Parking and Height Overlay zoning districts and is shown on Assessor's Map 11, Lot 202. The application and plans are on file at the Beverly Planning Department and are available for public review. It's only 2. That included both 211 ones. So.
That covered both?
Yeah, the rear parcel. So.
Okay. In view of the hour, and I appreciate everybody hanging around for this, but I think we were expecting this presentation to be somewhat brief. Is that your?
That's correct.
2 hours, right, Tom? 2 hours?
Brief.
Brief.
Remedy is a soul of wit, yes.
Okay. We greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, again, for the record, Thomas Alexander with offices at 1 School Street, here on behalf of Windover Ford. I'm just briefly going to set the stage here for this. Probably 10 years ago, this city decided that they were going to significantly change the nature of Rantoul Street. Rantoul Street, the history of it goes back. It was at one point a manufacturing hub, a lot of tanneries there. At another point, there was a lot of automobile manufacturing. That morphed into a lot of automobile repair facilities and dealerships. At one time, there were 6 dealerships on Rantoul Street. That has transitioned and changed. The city realized that, and this board has had a big part in changing the zoning in that area to be more welcoming to housing and to be more welcoming to transit-oriented development, as well as to provide more inclusionary housing. And this project checks all of those boxes. It continues the evolution of Rantoul Street to a very desirable place to live, and work, and shop. You will note that this is another very laudable goal of the city, that there is significant retail space provided on the first floor of these buildings, so that will also enliven the streets in the downtown area. You'll also notice that the physical appearance of the streets will improve dramatically. Right now, if you look at both Wallace and Bow Street, which found this, there are not even sidewalks at the part that goes from Rantoul Street up to the first end of this property, so that it is dangerous and unsightly to have to walk from the Beverly Depot up these streets. There's parking on both sides. People walking down the middle of the street. The result of this, in addition to the very nice housing that will be provided, is the streetscape will be improved dramatically. There will be beautiful curbing, sidewalks to the tune of over 400 feet of this amenity that will be provided, and it will improve the area quite dramatically. Presently, we have met with the Design Review Board and the Parking and Traffic Commission, both of which have requested more time and more information, so we will be presenting them again in the month of October. So we understand that this will not be closing tonight, that you will be receiving further information from both of those boards.
Excuse me a second. Will both of those have had a chance to meet before our next meeting?
They will, yes, absolutely. Both have scheduled meetings before your next meeting. So just by way of a quick overview with that, we'll go through this more deeply in a moment. This consists of two lots. Presently, one lot is bounded by Wallace, Bow Street, and Rantoul Street. That's where the Thomas Ford is located. That there has been a facility, a car-oriented sale repair facility there for probably 100 years. Next to that is a big parking lot where the vehicles for the employees are parked, as well as some of the inventory is parked there. That is the empty lot is the parking lot is 199 Rantoul. The Thomas Ford site is 211 Rantoul. There are we appreciate your considering this all as one, because these are really some separate filings that we have here, some separate permits, but they're all interrelated, and we thought it important to keep them all together and be considered at once. So on the 211 Rantoul site, the proposal is for 100 units, and the required parking is provided on both lots. On 199, the number of units is 28. We also have this evening with us Steve Dodge, who is the principal of Windover Ford. We have Chris Copeland, who is the manager of this project, as well as many others, and Thad Samasco and John Harton, who are the architects on the project. I'm going to ask Chris just to talk a little bit about this project from the perspective of Windover.
Thank you, Tom. Chris Copeland, President, Beverly Crossing. Thank you for hanging in here tonight. It's a long night. I just wanted to make a couple quick statements just to set the stage from a developer's perspective operating in this town, to let you know how we've organized this team and come to deliver this project to the city. We heard everybody on this panel about prior projects, Burnham, 480, those projects that are underway and completed. We have charged this team with delivering architectural excellence as best we can. We have worked really hard. We've challenged each other. We've looked and explored other properties in and around the region. We've looked in depth at materials, at fenestration, at all kinds of angles from this building, including the neighbors, all sides of the street. We just want to make this building both buildings really special, and we hope you see that in the architecture. I wanted to also underscore a point that this is tremendously economic development. I know it's transit-oriented, it's real estate development, but this is economic development. Because right now the Ford Group employs 45 people, and Fuego alone employs 38 in their operation, and that's only one restaurant. This one might see 2, maybe 3. So we're going to drive the economy down here on Rantoul Street even further. We operate 155 apartments right now with 220 people living in them on Rantoul Street. So by those numbers, this building might see anywhere from 150 to 170 people living there. And we've put an entrance on both buildings to Rantoul Street to activate the street and provide more activity for that number of people supporting the businesses on Rantoul Street. And we hope this will be a lift for the whole street, much like 131 has done down to the street next to the post office. So I just wanted to say those few things, turn it over to Thad to go over the design as quick as we can.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening. I will be brief, but I have to agree that Chris has really charged us, I think, over the last 9 months, working really hard on this design. I will go quick, but I don't want that speed to belie the amount of effort that went into getting these images out here tonight. As was mentioned, it's 199 to 11 Rantoul. It is an all Beverly team. I'll point out again. That's Semester and Burgers. If you remember, just 131 Rantoul was that, and it turned into that. We've been challenged to make this one even bigger. But if you think about the before and the after, what this will do for the downs, for Rantoul Street, we think we hope and expect that this Ford building will do more of that, even more. Looking south on Rantoul, you have the Jacqueline Tower, a major 7-story building right there. It's part of our context. We also get context. You have 45 Broadway, of course, in front of it, and you have the post office beyond. This is looking down Wallace Street at one point. Typically, it looks more like this, where there's cars parked either side, and somebody coming back off the train is walking down the middle of the street until they find a sidewalk down the end. It's not unusual to see cars parked on both sides of the street. Some of these are Fords for sale, but some of these are commuters that are parking there and walking to the train. This is what the sidewalk looks like, and the parking lots are fenced in, and some of them are barbed wire. So our proposal cleans all of this up with the proper street and the proper sidewalk, and does what it can to landscape these big open parking lots, which are essentially paved property line to property line. There's a beautiful big tree that our neighbor here owns, so we're going to take good care of the tree. It does a lot to break down the scale between the residential neighborhood and us. The A&R lot that came in tonight, it comes kind of through here, that's the 50 feet, so there's that buffer zone. That's a view of it, looking as you get to the gas station on the corner, coming out of the train station. This is what you see now. The stadium lights or the parking lot and all that. So you can imagine a beautiful building there that finishes the street, so you're walking as a pedestrian by all of that activated retail space and building entrances. Across the street, however, the scale drops down. We worked on the Beverly Bootstrap's new facility there. The scale is smaller. Even this is a pretty large building, 3 stories, but generally when you get back, you actually climb down the river of Jacqueline to look. That's a little bit of our view, but also you can kind of see a sense of the streetscape. Beverly Crossing has done 312 units in this general area, as you can see from this graphic. 28 affordable plus the Veterans House, and the numbers I don't think are included in this. Importantly, 16,500 square feet of retail space as well. Have been provided and almost 300 parking spaces. So how we looked at this was in context, the tall Jacqueline building. These are our 2 new proposed buildings, the 211, the 199, the Boris, or the 45, and the post office, and then 131. We're trying to break the scale down to the post office and come back up as we design these buildings. So this one uses the tall building guidelines, where we have the 45 roughly foot eve, and then setting the building back, and then that line kind of continues through here, and this prominent corner then continues through there, which we'll see further slides. I'm trying to talk fast. So here's the site plan, the 211 and the 199 site. This is a U-shaped building. Imagine a 131 building turned with its courtyard facing south onto Wallace Street. Much of the parking for this building is here. We're working to get a safe pedestrian crossing in roughly a location like this. The site circulation, because this is one way up and one way down, for imagine we're trying to drive most of the traffic onto Rantoul, so you come into Wallace, you can get out this parking lot from anywhere out back to Rantoul. Likewise, if you come down Wallace, you come down out through the building here and go down Bow. So less traffic heading down the narrower Bow Street or Wallace Street, and pretty good parking lot circulation. We are doing what we can to get some larger trees to get some shading onto the parking lot. We recognize that there's some thinner borders here for snow. We've got our landscape plan has things like daylilies and stuff that can cut back in the winter, put snow on, and then will come back strong in the spring. As Chris mentioned, these buildings have major entrances for the residents right on the street, but also a continuous line of retail in between them. There's a requirement for 80% of the frontage to be retail, or unit entrance would provided that. Because of this slight angle on the lot, it was a little harder on this building than this one, but it's basically, cheek to jowl, if you will, retail or resident entrance. There are also a large courtyard here for residents coming in and out of the building. Our hope is, I should mention also there's a parking lot in this section of the building. Our hope is folks will come home, park their car here, go out the front doors on the weekends and in the evenings to dinner and back and use the facilities, or come out and go down to the train to get to work and leave their cars mostly behind. The unit count is actually 98 units in this building, with 98 parking spaces, 5,683 square feet of retail, and these two spaces, roughly 3,000 square feet apiece. That's about the size of the El Fuego space that's going into 131 now, to give you a sense of the scale. There are some features, I don't want to go too much into this, I know it's going to be quick, but things like a unit owner or a renter moving in has a private corridor and a staging area and an elevator to get the moving vans off of Rantoul Street. There are dumpsters provided in multiple locations, some for the potential tenants and some for the retail or restaurant tenant, and some for the residents as well. One major thing that we're working on is this urban streetscape here. The buildings are set back enough from the sidewalk to provide just enough relief for urban landscape, but not too much that it feels more suburban and not urban. So the courtyard is going to be a little freer form than the one at 131, and will allow you to actually, because it's down from the road a couple of feet, when you're in here, it will feel quite private. And there's some private sitting areas in the main entrance again into the larger building. Things like the transformer will be appropriately screened. We're working through all those details. With a full landscape planting plan, generally native species. So this is the first floor plan, as mentioned. All this yellow is common space for resident use, including a bicycle room and an exercise room, as well as a lobby space. We're picturing quite an elegant entrance, kind of feeling off of Rantoul Street. And the parking lot with accessible parking within the village. These units highlighted are the affordable units. There's 10 in this building and 3 in the other. I don't pretend to understand 60-80% AMI, but the red is 80 and the green is 60. Generally speaking, we put the 2-bedroom units on the corners and the 1-bedroom units kind of run in between. We also have a few studio units in this particular plan. And as you go up the building, it stays the same with floor 4, and that's where we hit that eve line, and then floor 5 and floor 6 then set back in. Again, the brown units are the 2 bedrooms. There tend to be a fair amount more balconies when this sets back in, so we're using some of that setback space for balcony space as well. Note on these plans also are some of the bay windows that we learned on 131 are very popular and generate a few more dollars in rent, so we're putting those in here as well to make them more interesting for sale. And 6th floor, as it pulls back in, has we're calling the Sky Lounge, which is basically a common area for residents to use. Maybe have a private birthday party with an outdoor deck off of it. The smaller building, 199, 28 units. As you can see, a whole bunch of retail with a common entrance for residents. 2 bedrooms here and here. Those are the affordable units. And as it goes up, We also have sort of a carport parking on the backside and the ground level to get our parking count. And as it goes up, we're showing these mostly to show you where the affordables will end up. In terms of image, we've been looking all over the vision for what's being done, and we really like this particular piece, not that yet, someday, but this particular building with this is like a metal shingle and a subtle two-tone to the brick. We thought would be a pretty good point of departure for us. Larger windows that go down almost to the floor seem good. This is quite, as you can see, quite plain. But still somewhat interesting. We think we actually have a little more interest, but that same kind of material palette. So I think you'll see brick samples are down on the floor. This is a little more yellow than we're expecting, but there's this sort of subtle two-tone pattern you'll see working through the metal panel or fiber cement panel that gives you this shingle kind of effect, and the hardy reveal that we used on 131 is some of the materials. On the 199 building, there's this shiplap siding, which is a really cool reveal line, especially using on the YMCA right now. It's the same kind of palette. These are first cousins, maybe second cousins. They want to relate, but they're not twins by any means, and they might not even be brother and sister, but they certainly look like they belong together. So here they are together. And this is some of these height lines that we're trying to grab. Design tall buildings guidelines are strong on having a strong cornice line here. The new regs for the storefronts want extra height here, which were provided. There's a neat little canopy here that would allow us some outdoor dining on this corner, also with twin rain protection that starts here and runs along this whole, pretty much this whole entire length. We'll point out that there's a kink in the building as the road goes this way. This building actually swings out and creates this interesting balcony space. I'll show you that coming up. So the elevations are fairly well studied. Because the building actually steps and comes this way, we're able to take some elements and almost kind of repeat them and order them, try to organize to get the exterior a little faster. This is looking at it from Wallace Street with Rantoul here. Because this is inside the courtyard, because at some point we're saying you have a brick building up front and you come back into this shingle building and then back to the shiplap on the residential side. We're 43 feet here toward the residential side, 65 feet 6 to the ridge, and I think Jackman is 72 feet. From the rear, some of these elements that give you some texture and scale are being added. This is 199, the smaller building, with this kind of key that you can kind of see when you come from this. And probably the best is the prettiest pictures.
What's the height of that one? The height of 199?
That is meets the 55. It's 55 feet. Meets the 55-foot, 5-foot height. So looking south on Rantoul, this is where I mentioned where the building has the steps coming down and ties into this building here that kind of keeps out as the road heads off in that direction. You can see some of the canopies here, the major residential entrance, and a lot of glass on that corner for retail / restaurant. Looking north, this is again the building on the south side. Looking north toward that's what I described as that somewhat prominent corner on Wallace Street. And the courtyard at the end, give you a little bit of a feel for what that might be like as you work your way down into that space. And then at dusk, looking from above the gas station, you're real high in the air. Kind of a feeling about these buildings kind of work one to the other. This slide is demonstrating some of the financial gains for the city in terms of $1.381 million in the next couple of years, and a bunch of property taxes coming to us over time for the good services, of course, that the city provides. And I think with that marathon, there's a lot of questions, I'm sure. I know we'll get into this in a lot more detail, but hopefully that was enough.
Thank you. Is that it for tonight?
That's it. That's it.
Okay, I guess I'll recommend that we hold our questions to the next time. Is that reasonable? Okay, thank you for presenting, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to the next public meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? Ms. Flannery seconds. All in favor? Chair votes in favor. Motion passes. Good night.